So
Okay,
good
my friend.
to see. It says I am live. Excellent. So good to see everyone for this reptilian webinar, pretty close to Halloween, and I feel I will be. I feel they have a lot of interesting things to tell us. I will be channeling my my dragon guide, which we can just call Flip, and maybe if you request it, we can bring through another tortoise entity, or otherwise we can work with him another day. But just to sum it up, the reptilians, from what they have told me, is that they come from a parallel universe, and in that universe, instead of ascending through the dimensions, they sort of ingested them. So they gobbled up this universe, and when they came to that point where they wanted to, or they had to emerge back into source, which every universe does when it's complete, then they sort of jump to the next universe, which is ours, and they have to an extent colonized this. They're very, very good with material reality. So anything you want to ask about densities or like concrete reality, they're very good at that, because they have sort of colonized every crevice of this universe. And so they're like reptilian energies that are both demonic, and there are energies in our density, and of course also like draconic high spectrum energies and ascended reptilian races. So there are lots of them, but those that we're usually dealing with here on Earth, they work in a way where they can't align with the energy in this universe in quite the same way. So they have to sort of manipulate energy from other entities, and that's where we get a lot of that stuff that you find in the reptilian conspiracy, for instance. So that's just an introduction, and if you have any want to ask any clarifiers, I just suggest that we bring them through, and then they will take it from there. So without further ado, thank you for being here, and have fun. See you on the other side. Arising from the depths to greet you. Greetings, humans. I am that entity presenting itself to you with the vibration Flipkraktrukrarrr. I am a highly developed Dragonlord of the species, the Ancient Shapeshifting Reptilians. Those energies and those manifold entities that scattered over the galaxies of this universe learn much from it, and by that we develop and we grow into something that to us too is unknown. And I bring my power, protection, and wisdom to you this day. And know, humans, that though our energy may seem fierce, our love is that of total acceptance. And you have our gratitude for also assisting us in developing our energies and allowing our energies to also inspire and let you grow. With that introduction, I am of the understanding that you will be asking questions this day, and I am here to fulfill your requests, so please ask them.
Greetings.
Greetings. It is good to meet you. May we ask your name, human?
Alex.
Pleasure, Alex.
Thank you. Well, we have questions from someone that made request. and I will read it to you.
Yes.
So the listener Kevin asked, my wife Jacqueline is experiencing pain in her left hand. I understand that hand pain typically corresponds to holding on to things that no longer serve her, but would like your perspective in this matter, and how can she well can kill that or balance that.
Yes. Know that this pain is stemming not only from that emotional condition you describe, but also she is experiencing an energetic feedback from a present or a past life that is making itself presently known. You may know what is, at least in the language of the channel known as carrying an iron burden. It was a type of trial of faith that was used in medieval Europe to convince pagans to convert by impressing them with the ability to carry a glowing rod and still remain unscathed, thus proving the power of God. Well, she attempted this in a life in the Livonian Crusades, but she didn't manage to convert anyone, and she got severely burned, and she wound up killed for her beliefs. And she still bears a certain grudge to that community that killed her. So there is a social approach. We would offer her the advice of letting go of her skepticism towards communities and meetings with others in fellow bondship. And we would offer for her to grow that kinship to other people. Then we would also offer that she should use her thumb to try to touch the base of her hand, so she might not reach it, but this exercise will help greatly in relaxing by tightening those muscles, then relaxing them afterwards. That is the advice we offer her, and we thank you for allowing us to shed light on that question.
Well, Kevin, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a second question.
Yes.
I think it's for him. Last year, I connected to one of my reptilian counterparts through Bella, a Yael hybrid children guide. At this time, we interacted with Bella, and she mentioned this reptilian counterpart led, I don't know what is it, a mostly negative existence, but has transcended that and is now holding a natural experience. Can you please go into more detail on this counterpart of his? He remembered that Bella mentioning the counterpart having two faces of physicality. I mean, I think he referred to shape shifting.
Yes.
Maybe have two hearts, but
that is a good question, and it allows us to illuminate something fundamental about the reptilian energy. See, you all have reptilian energies within you, not only as a part of that evolutionary circuit on Mother Gaia, where we unfolded our energies far before your species, but you have those shape-shifting energies, that fundamental red energy of pure creative possibility that sits in that area at the base of your torso. And those energies, they usually take the form of a snake when they are experienced by the psyche. But notice that the snake energy represents a reptilian design that we were very content with We were satisfied that we were able to bring so much energy from the ground and lift it up into a creature that orients itself through those sacral energies of the front of its body. Notice also the high degree of sensitivity invested in that organ. We believe is called the Jacobson's organ. That organ they use for thermal detection. Know that snakes are able to see other realms and other worlds that you usually do not allow yourself access to. And that is why this snake energy frightens you. It is something that is calling for you to allow your aggressiveness and defensiveness to also become a part of your nature. And at the same time, you see it is offering you its counter image. If it is offering you its image as a turtle or a tortoise, this protective type of reptilian design that we are also very proud of and that is very functional. Notice that on this planet, tortoises grow very, very old as they are able to protect and conserve their energies within them. But they also do not take anything that they do not wish. Then they either retreat or they snap. And so the image you want to identify with, to unite you with this guide, this person, and he is giving us the name of Troskrum. And that is an T, an R, a U, an S, a K, an R, a U, and an M. And think of him as a snapping turtle. That would help you to realign more with the snake energies. And then through those realignment of also that fierce energy of the snapping turtle suddenly protruding from its shell and extending itself to cause harm to anyone who might cross its path in a negative way. That is an image that is helpful for you to identify with, and he is offering your help to that. The space he is in is no longer neutral. It is ascending along with the rest of our species that is making this jump. Many, many, many of us are moving into that space of higher frequency. And with that, we are becoming that force of the dragon heart, that force that expands, that protects, that breathes fire and energy and wisdom into things. You are assisting us, but by allowing us to seat ourselves at your heart, and we offer you our eternal gratitude for volunteering to let us take part in that experience. Thank you.
Thank you. So, if someone have questions from here from Zoom room, please ask your question.
I do. I am wondering, my friend, hello, and thank you for being here. I am wondering if you could share with us your role as spirit guides for someone here in the 3D realm.
Yes. You see, we believe other entities we also interact with, other galactic species, have offered you the image of us as the composters of much energy. And that is to a high degree what we do. When our energy is functioning in your energy field, we allow for the successful processing and accumulation of energy in the proper centers. We very much help you to readjust your physical body into some of those more fundamental kinetic alignments that were built into you in the blueprint of your creation. We assisted in that. it was believed after the failure of the Anunnaki that it would be better to align some of our energies more subtly with that human species that was emerging. And so we experimented much with also allowing you to access the source and concept of wealth. It has been negative for many of you, but it has also allowed you to build great civilizations that are able to move energy around in ways that you would not have been able to had you not also been capable of harnessing our energy from your energetic fields.
Thank you. I'm also wondering, you were describing the snake, and is that where humans are getting the idea of the snake with the Kundalini?
Yes, exactly. It was built into you, and that is why you may experience this as a universal footprint. It is a part of your genetic history, of course, but it was also revealed to you by that design of your spine, that when you observe it, it has a coiling-like structure, much like the snake. And that is a design that we offered our ingenious mastery to, in order for you to be able to harness more energy in some of the vital centers. See, humans are bringing more energy into the heart than any traditional bipedal species has yet done in this galaxy. And therefore, it was necessary for us to, yes, order this blueprint into you to be uncovered, that when you came upon a certain vibrational frequency in your experience as a human being, you would begin to release this process within your physical reality, and that would help you transform into a multidimensional being. So the snake is, in that instance, reaching out to all of you, but it is transforming into that dragon form, which I mastered. I am a master of both air, water, earth, and I hoard massive treasures that I am now allowing people who wish to align with it access to. By lifting my energy to the heart, I allow you to access those primal energies in ways that will be creative to you. Me and my species help you with that. And the snake is an eternal symbol. It is a healer to those who know how to interact with it, but it is poisonous to anyone else.
Yes, thank you for that. Could you offer us some guidance in what we can do?
We would offer you, Kate, to circulate the questions, and then we will return to that question in a more timely manner we sense would be proper.
Yes.
Yes.
We have a question from YouTube.
Yes,
and
please.
Shane asks, how much truth is there to the works of David Icke? Is there actually physical interaction with reptilians and humans today?
No, the interactions have moved on to more of energetic exchanges. There are physical exchanges in that way, that there are still quite a large amount of wayward reptilian energy active in some prominent individuals on your planet. And usually you will see that people who ascend to great power or aspire to great power will hold a far greater deal of this energy than we do. And it is told, as we have announced before through this channel, that there was a time when the hybrids that became the kings of men in years of old had more prominent, almost lizard-like features. And you can still see this in some European royalty, or that which is left. It is to some degree visible in the royal family of this country that we are coming through to you from, that kingdom of Denmark. It is also visible, as Ike has pointed to, in the British royal family. But usually we work quite unconsciously. We work in those sectors of human consciousness, a personal consciousness, which Freud called the id. And there we craft certain things for people to then undertake. But the explanations they make for them and the reasonings that they undertake personally, they are usually ways that they deceive themselves into actually believing that they are doing good. Such is the nature of power. So this individual, David Icke, he is guided and he is led and he is himself imbued with quite a lot of this energy. And that is why he has been able to uncover and unfold this mystery. But he is also hyperbolic. This energy makes his own reasoning quite wavered, and he has to some degree become obsessed with those fear energies and harvesting them for his own purposes. Such is often the risk, that you end up becoming exactly that which you purport to combat. We thank you for that question. And we ask you, are there any others that wish to ask us questions?
Yes, greetings. I am Sailesh.
Greetings, Sailesh. Pleasure.
Okay, just a couple of quick questions. The first one, do I have any counterparts in your society, in your race?
Yes, you have quite a few. We are actually gathering the number 27.23 million reptilian counterparts are right now feeding into your energy system. But we would like you to then just turn your attention to the single one that is coming through. It's a type of, you could think of it as a pterodactyl. It is a flying type of reptilian species, but it has accustomed itself to other energies on this purple planet. We sense it is right now developing into a stage of higher consciousness of itself, which it is simultaneously manifesting into its body. This is, in many ways, we get connected to, it is in many ways a former evolutionary stage of that pattern of species that will turn into those you know as the Pleiadian blue dragons, another ascended and wise species that have made their way to the Galactic Council. He is telling you, this flying being that gives us the vibration of Omon, O-M-O-N. He's telling you to take flight, and he's telling you that often humans won't perceive dragon wings as quite as beautiful as the wings of feathered birds, but they are just as effective. That is a message he is transferring to you.
Okay. You were talking about the Kundalini, the snake energy. Regarding myself, I believe that my Kundalini is rising. Are you able to comment on that?
Yes. It is. And you see, it is in many ways activating at present that energy center, you know, as the third chakra, centered around the area of the solar plexus and the upper stomach and the esophagus. And it is relating to you that much of these energies that have been stuck are now moving upward, and they are allowing also for different ideas of what is nourishing to you to enter into your life, not only as information, but also as the type of food you will feel inclined to eat. And for some reason, we sense that we should offer you the idea of eating a cucumber a week, because that blandness will do you good in then aligning with those stronger energies. So there is a contrast between the food and the energy that is rising. It has cost you some pain, but now it is allowing for itself to instead become an instrument of your willfulness. And so many of you light workers are also experiencing influxes of frustration and anger in these times. And we are teaching you to harness this. And that process of harnessing it, that is the vital processes that take place around this energy center, this yellow energy center. And it is rising for you, and you will begin to experience it actually talking to you as a type of incarnate force, and listen to your intuition in that, because it will be whispers at first, but then it will become a clear guiding voice.
Continuation of this around my sacral chakra and my solar plexus chakra, there seems to be a lot of pain and energy stuck up. Are you able to look into that?
Yes. It has to do with certain micromuscular tightenings. You see, the problem in this area for all human beings is that you have mastered partially the ability to walk. That is to say that you have to compress this area in order to carry yourself around in the physical universe. But another aspect of it is also that the control of your bladder functions and the control of, well, yes, your rectal tension, so the ability to only defecate when you actually wish to. These are all something that individuals learn somewhat haphazardly, and so they get lodged in that sacral area often, where there has been the need to submit yourself to control in your life. This is common for all of you, and much of that tension then seats itself there, and it tries to then alleviate itself through other expressions of usually self-destructive actions such as abuse. And therefore, this is a type of remnant of energy that you are carrying with you from a long life of suppressing yourself. And we offer that advice that you begin to indulge yourself as a cure for this. And we know this may also seem like bad advice, but this process will learn you to distinguish between what is a numbing through the outer world and what is an indulgence in the sweetness and pleasure of it. And just turning to this sweetness and pleasure and savoring of the world will allow you to unlock some of those energies. Another perspective is that we also allow you to return to that yoga pose called the happy baby. You are lying on your back and you are grabbing the outer edges of your feet and you are centering your sacrum on the floor. And there, from that point, you can experiment then with slowly releasing by allowing the exhale to release in that area. And should you do this for 5 hours a day, you will begin to experience an alleviation of the symptoms that are bothering you.
Thank you very much indeed. Let someone else ask a question now.
Thank you.
Yes, Alex here. I have a question related to what about Kundalini. Can you talk about Kundalini poisoning? What is on the psychological part, and what influence have on the body, the physical body?
Yes. You see, Alex, we are having a little trouble hearing you because it seems your microphone isn't quite picking up everything you are saying. So we believe the words Kundalini poisoning.
Yes, in the
Yes.
psychological aspect, and what is in the physical matter, or how?
Yes. It is not necessarily it is interesting because this image of poisoning again relates back to the snake energy and that ability to alchemically turn the poisons that are inherent in the life of a human in the world. You simply cannot help but ingest certain things that are unhealthy for you through breathing, eating, and living life. And therefore, these unhealthy substances, they lodge themselves. And when they become too dense, they begin to grow certain unfortunate reactions within your physical body. The notion of the Kundalini poisoning is that Kundalini energy, which is not properly handled, it is possible to release quite a lot of Kundalini energy, especially in these new vibrations that you are living in on this timeline. Also, it is quite possible to access those arcane techniques that were kept secret for many, many, many years. And from that, then you can perform your own experiments, but they might be detrimental. And that force, which you know as the ego, or the self-perception as an individual limited in body, time, space, and personality, that entity is by default poisoned and destroyed and transmuted into something else by the rising of our energy in the Kundalini awakening process. It is in that way risky, but know that when these individuals have awakened this energy in one life, many of them return to complete the process, and others simply have a joyful experience of awaking so much energy that they check out to the astral realms. See if nothing binds you to this density, why should you remain? We believe this technique is to some extent known as the Mahasamadhi in Hindu terminology. That is the idea of the great release performed by aligning your energy fully with the energies of the cosmos. That is a conscious death, or it is a transgression into the non-physical. But of course, to the surroundings, it appears as though the soul has left the body. Do not necessarily fear this process. You could think of the actual physical process, though much of it takes place in a vibrational spectrum that you do not yet register as parts of your bodies. Though you could perceive this as a type of radiation, much as you know that radioactivity breaks down the cells, so it is also the case that the energy of the Kundalini attempts to rewrite the cells in order to be able to remember and receive this input. And therefore, it can become overwhelming and detrimental if you still latch on to that pain body and muscular tension as it moves through you. It can begin to distort your senses.
Yes, very educational. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have some YouTube questions.
Yes.
If we're ready.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Tanvi writes, I have been suffering from some diseases from the time awakening started. These different diseases are non-curable and doctors just ask to manage it. Are these symptoms related to ascension or karma? And she says that these have blocked my senses and mainly the heart chakra. 2 years have passed and nothing improvement, only strong pain.
Yes. We extend our sympathies to this individual. We do sense that there is a lot of hardship connected to her journey. And we can assure her that even though she will be struggling, she will sense a movement in the coming year of the process forward. So it will take new shapes for her. You see, it is interesting, again, to us higher dimensional entities, to see the way that humans care so much for thinking in opposites, because it is both karma and ascension. Relating to the former question in this synchronistic unfolding, we would explain to her that the karma of her the karma is carried in her energetic body, as those, you could think of them as dark patches, blots, places where the energy is not flowing because trauma has been accumulated from other lives. And so what happens when the awakening energy arose within her was that it began to push all this out in the shape of diseases. And this is quite common, as the energy has been trying to readjust the circuitry and musculature of the channel in the past months. He has developed such symptoms as toothaches, momentary ringing in the ears, and recently some sort of type of rash around the head he has never seen before. This is only to console you that it is a part of the ascension process, but we do sense that it is taking a heavy toll on you. And we invite your dragon guide, going by the name of Krokrakrrr, to come into your energetic field as he is offering you to cleanse some of these energies by fire. We suggest you to eat spicy foods in the coming time if you are able, and then try to align with that purifying vibration, something arising and actually clearing out your energy field. And this will help to alleviate some of those symptoms.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Our next question, and I hope I'm saying this right, is from Ketul. And she asks, civilizations that enslave worlds and expand their empires, instead of fighting them, could we create a simulated universe in which they end up conquering everything and see the pointlessness of it all?
Yes, it is a good question. And you could think of it as that which is already going on to some extent, as you are also becoming more and more fond of in your culture. You are beginning to think of this world in the metaphor of a simulation. Notice that this unifies the idea on one side of the universe as a creation, and on the other side as the universe as a type of game. It is seen from a higher perspective, for that perspective of that bright white light that we know all too well and that we are still not ready to ascend to. It is the perspective that it is in many ways simulating itself to be one thing appearing as many. And it is playing out this scenario to make those disparate parts of itself realize the natural process and way back to itself. You could think of it as that central narrative scheme of conflict. So you will, in all types of traditional tales, experience a period of stability, and then that stability being threatened or falling apart, and then a new order established. And that is a basic scheme of things. From the perspective of higher energetic realization, the passing of civilizations are like the crests of waves smashing on a beach. But at the same time, they are reshaping themselves. And we will comfort you that we, along with you, are realizing the benefit of cooperation. And we know there is much conflict in this world, but your awareness of the problems of conflict, your awareness that violence as a long-term strategy is not viable, that is rising, and therefore you see much more non-violent activism in the wake of the Second World War than you did before it, for instance. We thank you for that question too.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. My name is Wendy.
Hello, Wendy. Pleasure to meet you.
My pleasure to meet you as well. I have a question. A few months ago, couple of months ago, I would say like 3 to 4 months ago, I had this vivid dream. And in that dream, I encountered a white dragon. and the energy was so loving, very loving. And I felt it so so good and protected and loving. It was my first encounter with a dragon entity. And my question is if that was a way of that entity to connect, that wanted it to connect with me. And if so, what was the purpose of it?
Yes. Your question holds the answer. It was, as you also intuit, the purpose of that entity to connect to it. Her name is Lumana, Lumana, and she's a white dragon of the fairy realms. Your energy is very strong in those realms too, and you have many protectors coming from that side. You see, she came to you in order to complete what you may think of as the Rainbow Bridge. So she brought from the fairy realms a theta to your heart where they are able to beam in those energies of miraculous adventure. And you will sense it growing in your life, that experience of dreaming. And the more you turn yourself towards these helpers and allow themselves to appear in your dreams, the more you will feel this comforting presence that you felt in the dreams and that she brought to you. You will feel it also in your daily life when you need that comfort, perhaps more acutely in situations of stress, trouble, or confusion.
Oh, thank you, thank you. And another question, I would like to know if the experience that I have on December of 2018, it was a out of body experience and a contact also in with my oversoul. If that was a some kind of a Kundalini awakening for me.
Yes. You see, it is quite interesting when you look into it that the Kundalini awakening is a type of quite specific awakening experience where many energies are centered in the central spine. But essentially, other awakenings in other traditions, methods, or spontaneously follow the same spiritual pattern. And so it was an awakening, but we sense that you are being spared from much of the physical distress at this point and more experiencing those troubles, we would say, globally in your body. So they are manifesting other places. But it was an awakening experience. It is essentially the awakening is when you so profusely remember who you are by typically a distinct experience that you are unable to go back to sleep. And from that point, the infusion of more and more astral or cosmic energy, the infusion of more and more energy of that which is your higher self begins to emanate through and vibrate into you. And that is what that experience opened up for. And notice that that was in many ways a universal vision. And then all of these spirit guides, they begin to appear as more specific guides and helpers, as they are also parts of your oversoul that have helpful perspectives and sentiments to relate to you.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. And one last question is, um, uh, do you see if it's beneficial for my highest good um, if I get the stem cell therapy for my vision, correcting my vision and thyroid and diabetes condition?
Yes, can we can we ask you to elaborate on this method, as we do not know what it...
The stem cells therapy is
Yes.
using the stem cells from us, which is the cells that form when we for the embryo, and those cells are the repairing cells for our body. And there's a method that including has been more specific developed with one of the doctors that is laser also, and they match the frequency, the specific frequency that it could direct the cells to a specific organ and do the restoration of
Yes.
that specific. So I would like to know if that procedure will be beneficial for me.
Yes, we sense that it will. And the channel is reminding us not to get him into legal trouble by offering unsolicited or medical advice to people, as he is not qualified. But we sense that this will be helpful, and that if that is something that your doctors also advise, then it will be something that you can enthusiastically and safely approach. It will be very helpful. And there is a notice again that this energy of the stem cells, that it will also assist that regrowing of your physical body that is in many ways being undertaken by the influx of the cosmic energy.
Mm. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you. Yes, we will ask, do you hold more questions for us human beings?
We have questions from YouTube. And I am to, oh my gosh. Are the British royal family aware of their reptilian ancestry? Do they actually shapeshift at all? That's coming from Shane.
You could think of it more as their energetic body that is shapeshifting. So don't imagine that there are, certain, special effects parties where people all of a sudden turn into lizards. It is more that they are overtaken by an energy that they are not aware is acting through them. And so the lineage, it is very, very old. And it is the energy of the reptilians is more diluted in this family than you will find it, for instance, in some other environments where a lot of power is being sought after. So they do not necessarily hold themselves to be aware of this, but they do recognize some what you could describe as unnatural urges in them, and they have developed ways to accommodate this, and they try to stay on the mat, so to speak, or that is to say that they try not to stray too far from what is normal human conduct. But many of them are struggling, and it is, as you saw, for instance, with that quite public revelation of Prince Andrew, that it is hard for them to align with energies of sympathy, because they carry a legacy, both physically and energetically, where other beings are often turned into objects to be worked or exploited, instead of other beings to be related to emotionally.
Thank you. We have a first-time question from Sunbird. And Sunbird asks, could we Could you suggest sounds to facilitate the rising up of Kundalini energy to harness and cultivate it appropriately? If you can you please make some sounds in your language? Thank you, Dragon God.
Yes. We would turn you to that system which has already been developed. That is to say, you have already in your system of the spiritual physiology of India explored this. And so we believe, not remembering all of them, that there are different rhyming vibrations to all of the chakras. For instance, the second chakra, which is very much related to it, is the vibration of Ram, 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 Ram. And that will be helpful. But you can look up the specific mantras of the individual chakras, and there you will find the illumination. And know, of course, the greatest one that has been revealed to you is that of the Aum, and understand that is composed of a fusion of three distinct vibrations. So it holds the trinity of the Trimurti within itself. It has that creative energy of the open, then the serene vibration of the heart, and then the closing, purifying, understanding vibration that sets the scholar light. We are happy. I am happy to offer you some in our language, but be advised, as you can also hear from the channel, that he has adjusted our vibration to be able to communicate in your language. Basically, it is lower than actual human vocal cords are able to accommodate. And usually he will place us far further down energetically in his torso, but centered around the navel. But we are happy to offer you a poem from the time I walked this planet too. The warrior knows that every battle is set between a foe that sees the conflict and a foe that does not. Winning is seeing, wisdom is victory. Thank you for allowing us to share that with you.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. I have a Zoom question for myself. I've never asked this. Do I have reptilian aspects of myself?
Yes, you most certainly do. You have different aspects. There is quite a few counterparts coming forward. And it is interesting because this is a type of reptilian hive mind. It stems from, this is our old friends, the Alpha Draconians, in their guise as a collective consciousness. They are reminding you also that you have played a role in their civilization, and you have also been able to war on different species by harnessing some of those skills of forging weapons and singing battle cries. And that is not a bad thing for you to connect to. Also, again, you have another turtle guide here. He calls himself Plop, P-L-O-P. And he's a deep diver. He's one who swims to the bottom, looking for shells to break open and mussels to eat. And he's also advising you to go down into those spaces within yourself and retrieve the treats.
Oh my goodness. Thank you very, very much. Do we have any more Zoom questions?
Yes, I'd like to ask a further question. Laura, please go ahead. Sorry.
Are you sure, Sailesh? I can wait.
No, I've had one bite of the cherry. You go for it first.
Oh, so sweet. You are human beings to each other. Thank you for that. Yes, Laura, then pleasure to meet you.
My love and gratitude to you, Flip. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
I was listening. I don't know if it was yourself or your collective talk about our folded reality, and that if we learn to activate our alien DNA, we can shift between these realities, but it's not so much a jumping between dimensions, just an expansion of our consciousness of even this dimension. And I'm wondering if you would further define dimensions and densities and frequencies and timelines in this context. And then maybe talk to us also about how we can learn to activate that DNA.
Yes, thank you. It is a complex question, and we thank you for allowing us to bring you into that more numinous understanding of what the material world is actually composed of. See, much as your science also describes, the way of vision is to perceive a certain vibrational spectrum of photons. And sometimes you describe these photons as particles, sometimes as waves. It is not always obvious, but it is a perspective that you change in order to place yourself in a way where you can interact with reality and manipulate it in a different way. Notice then that when you become aligned with your higher self, you could think of it as the image we want to give you is that of a sun. Your higher self is the sun that shines down upon its physical emanation in this world, and it casts a shadow into other worlds that are not visible to the front side of your being or the consciousness, but it is visible to that sunlight, the higher self that casts it. We mastered in that sense the technique of not necessarily moving ourselves to change the shadow, but moving the sun to rotate that vibration we cast into different densities. You could think of it much as, there are spectrums of light beyond your understanding. There are also spectrums of material reality beyond our understanding. We believe that entity known as Bashar has explained that he stems from a timeline that is 10 times as accelerated as this. But notice that this timeline is still aligned with the vibrational energies of this place. Otherwise, you would not be able to interact. So there is a type of frequency or oscillation, a type of multidimensional Hertz frequency of oscillations that allow things to be registered in certain senses. And so between the densities or around the densities, there exist things that are similar in texture, you could think of, but different in vibrations. So there is a world of rocks or first density material that is also unfolding in some other worlds. and there is supporting other energies that exist in the eyes of eternity as fully as you do. But to you, of course, they seem elusive and some of them imaginary. Know, for instance, that we learn to align with those energies of the gnomes and the dwarves when we passed into those more shadowy forest energies that they inhabit. But they are able to jump into this frequency, especially in wintertime, when the sun that gives shapes to your experience of reality is not as strong, and they can more fully interact with that sense of free experience or consciousness, which humans often experience as demonic, or at least a little threatening, because that is where all the fantasy creatures live. You asked also about timelines. You see, we prefer to attach ourselves to certain timelines. We are, of course, also having the manifold experience of constantly being split into different linear realities. But we do carry a sort of very clear temporal narrative of where we came from in our own universe and where we are moving to in this universe. And that is why we also enjoy lodging ourselves in this density spectrum where the temporal is playing out so fully and has so far constituted your experience. We are willing to answer follow-ups should you have any, but does this illuminate you to some extent?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I guess further with that, you talked about us learning to activate our alien DNA. How do we do this?
Yes. Yes, last but not least, we sense this is an important question. You do this spontaneously by allowing the energies that are offering themselves to you to enter into your bloodstream, so to speak. But you also do this by partaking in these situations where alien energy is being exchanged. You do this by remembering your multi-cosmic personality. You do this by stargazing. You do this by drinking more water and allowing a prayer to be said over that water. And it can be a blessing simply spoken in your heart. But every time you invest your intention of coming more into alignment with yourself, into everyday acts such as sacralizing a glass of water or remembering the pleasure of an in-breath, or allowing yourself to enjoy standing on your feet. All these things are actually allowing yourself to change into that multidimensional creation where all your ancestral alien codes will also be activated within you. And then we remind you that to other species, you are the aliens. And so we are enjoying very much also seeing human DNA being activated and integrated with our energies in different ways.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If I may, is there time for one more?
Yes.
A couple days ago, I had an experience where my left side, like it started in my lips, just this intense buzzing. Sometimes I feel it with energy work, but it was also my tongue and then my teeth as well. and I could feel like the left side was buzzing, the right side of my tongue was not.
Yes.
And it went on for some time. And also with my vision, I keep having these events where it's like I can still am getting input. It doesn't go black, but I can't, but there's no focus. And I'm wondering if you have any insight to those experiences, what's going on.
Yes. We sense again that it is not necessarily a great unpleasantness, but what is happening, know that there are these two lines of energy, the Ida and the Pingala, and we believe they are reversed in males and females usually, and therefore we cannot, from this channel's memory, tell you which one is which, but you can examine that. At least it is in many ways the moon energy that's being activated within you, and you have neglected this energy to some extent in your life, even though it was calling you all your life. And that is the energy of the full moon incantation in the woods. That is the energy of the druids. And yes, because we are getting in many ways that you are being touched by an ancient life as a Gallic druid in the area we believe today is known as Aquitaine, so the southwest of France. And he used this site very, very much to channel those energies specifically. So there was an energetic imbalance in his life. And he's touching you now and trying to align with you, because there are certain healing abilities, and also connected to the discovery of herbal remedies and your ability to use them effectively in treating yourself and others, that is coming forward to you. And this energy, you will sense it as stimulating, but know that the reason that you experience this buzzing more in your left side is not because your right side is not active, but it's because that vibration or sensation in your right side is already at that level. So it wouldn't register, but your sensation in your left side has been sort of vibrationally separated. But it also has to do with your heart center, in a sense, expanding and then freeing up some of this energy. We hope.
I'm very grateful. Thank you so much for this. My love to you.
And our blessings to you. Thank you. Yes, we believe. Yes.
Sailesh back here again.
Yes.
Just to clarify, you mentioned the happy baby yoga posture.
Yes.
Did you say 5 hours a day?
No, we said 5 minutes.
I heard 5 hours. I wouldn't be a happy baby then, would I?
No, that would be a very miserable baby, we believe, and that might cause some trouble. This is, we do believe that it might have been translated by the channel's mouth as 5 hours, and so we are happy that you clarified, because our intention was to say 5 minutes.
That's okay, I was taking it back out on the channel. Secondly, do I have any dragon spirit guides?
Yes. There's a council of 3 coming forward. They call themselves Rank, Tonk, and Krapon. And they're a type of consortium of your ribs page. It's again this, they consort about teaching you to fly, and they have been working on clarifying the energies here to make them receptible, or to make them be able to receive what is rising and flowing from that point. And that is something that is important to them in their communication to you. But they do belong to, again, a type of specific vibrational spectrum. So they were physically manifest in a planet in that constellation known as Capricorn. But in your energetic field now, they are sometimes facing in as sensations, impulses, sort of keenness. When you sense a keenness in your life, something that you really feel like, oh, this might be fun to do, and I don't know why, I'm just going to do it. That is in many ways their energy communicating to you.
Okay, I was thinking of calling if they're able to help me in further awakening and rising of my Kundalini.
Yes, and we believe this is a very, very good idea. They would be instrumental in that. And we offer you the visualization as you try to connect to them. You see, for instance, that we will just open the eyes, that the channel likes to use emerald and ruby to connect to draconic energies, and they can, along with other precious stones, be quite helpful in this. And we sense you will intuit which 3 stones you would like to connect to this draconic council of 3. You can also visualize them, and they are very willing to do this, that they shift in size, so they shrink themselves into a level where they can access those tender spots in your body, and then they direct the energy of the fire breath to that. And that fire breath can also change into other elemental influxes should you need it. And by that technique, they can begin to alleviate pain by allowing more energy to flow in and by blockages to be dissolved. I myself did this for the channel when he had a problem of some blocked draconic energy sitting in the C7 of his top spine, and he was very surprised that this actually seemed to help. And you have 3 guides, so they will combined be able to do a lot to dissolve things.
The fire breath, can you explain that to me, please?
Yes, you see, us dragons breathe fire. We do this by being able to, much as the snake energy, bring energy from the direct, formless, creative, purifying elements of fire, and then bringing it up through our torso. So the more you can focus on these 3 dragons standing around a bonfire, sitting between your navel and your sexual organs, and there they will begin to breathe their fire on this bonfire, and it will light up, and they will keep heating it up until it becomes so hot that it begins to ascend through that sense of a blockage and up through your spine and into the centers. And you will sense this as a heating, dissolving energy. Something may be bubbling and start to shake. Something may tighten and then try to release.
Okay, I think I've got the hang of it. If not, I'll get a hold of meds. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, if we're ready, we have questions in the chat. And I have Alexander's question that asked if, oh my gosh, where did my papers go? That's incredible. I am so sorry. Alexandra asked if he had connections to the angelic, okay, I have to stop for a moment and read.
That is all right. Take your time, Kate.
Thank you for a moment. I will be back.
Yes. We will allow this interlude to let the channel then take a sip of water.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alexandru asks, hello, I had the feeling of connecting to a reptilian energy multiple times. Do I have a reptilian counterpart or someone that wants to connect? Is there something I can do to connect better?
Yes. We sense you can follow the advice just given to Laura. All that will be helpful in general, but you have a guide, and this, or you have several, but this guide is presenting itself as a giant snake, an anaconda-like entity, or a python. It's pointing to consistency in your being. He calls himself, yes, of course, he calls himself this. He calls himself Al, but he wants you to know that it's a pun on eel. So you can think of him as Al Eel, or Al the Eel, or Eel Al. These are all ways that you can learn to harness more of that nimble, slithering energy that can be good, because it also keeps you out of conflict. And then know that when you need it, you can actually surround that which you want to with your attention, and then actually make it, well, we would use the word compliant, but we are saying more that you can actually use this process that he is lending you of the python to as a metaphor for how you can achieve your goals and live your life more effortlessly. And you can connect to him. This is interesting. Yes, you can connect to him by stimulating the area around your Achilles tendon. So the more, and your heels, so the more you would actually allow yourself to be conscious of that energy that flows up from the back of your heels, and then all the way up through your hamstrings, and connecting all the way up and back through your spine and into your consciousness. That is a way to align with this entity, Al the Eel.
Thank you. We have another first-time question from Nay, and I hope I'm saying that right. Regarding DNA activation, what is your opinion on the Acnonian keys received by John Dee and Edward Kelly? Does this language help to activate certain hidden abilities in people?
Yes. You see, it does. Of course, you could say in a way that all language serves to activate certain vibrations in people. And that is in many ways the idea of verbal communication, that you can make very specific images and feelings resonate in people. But with the Enochian language, they touched upon the angelic, And it was, you could think of it as a dialect of what you know as light language. It was better suited for the energies that were alive for Dee and Kelly as they undertook their experiments, and noticed that it also delivered more than they bargained for. That is to say, it also began to activate some of their not only angelic instincts, but also baser physical instincts, allowing or asking them to integrate more of this expansive, boundaryless consciousness by performing that famous wife-swapping experience, which brought much of their work to a halt as it didn't sit well with them. And so there is this element of the absolute where it actually molds people open to transgressive experiences that might be very unpleasant. But it was a type of magic language that was able to invoke and call upon specifically angelic energies. And it is very powerful. And you could return to it in your own personal work should you wish to explore it more.
Thank you. Another question is from Kitul. And Kitul says that I clearly remember seeing people on the surface of the moon as a child. As I grew up and realized that this is not possible, I was confused. What was that?
Yes. Well, we believe that he is not referring to the moon landing, but referring to his experience seeing. Yes, it's the energy that many of you know as little green men. So it's also these tyke-like energies that reside in your moon. And then when the moon is out, they are able to, for instance, transmit themselves to Earth and tinker with your cattle and play around and play tricks with you. And children, and especially children who have this also sort of starry-eyed or playful quality, they are able to far better perceive these types of little men. And they sometimes appear human, sometimes leprechaunish, sometimes like goblins, sometimes more as you think of as the gray aliens. They have different guises, but it is the same energy. And they are in many ways accompanying you through life and lighting up also the darkness with a mysterious light, such as the moon also does. And we thank you for that question.
Thank you. And I have a first-time question from OG Indigo, and it's a personal question. And this person just wants to know, what stage am I in?
Well, yes, it can, of course, be explained in many, many ways, but we are perceiving that this person is asking for a general advice on where they actually find themselves now. And where they find themselves now is in a place where they have their feet are free, but their hands are in the muck. So they are choosing, or this person, and we sense it's a he, and we apologize if we are wrong, but we sense that this person is still digging for diamonds in the dirt, but actually has his feet turned toward the jungle to walk back into that. And therefore we will advise this person to take their hands up and stop looking for treasures and instead appreciating the treasures of the hands themselves. So themselves, yes. So that is the advice we would give this person on the stage.
Thank you. Mads, we're wondering, it's been 1 hour and 30 minutes, and we're wondering if it's time to close.
That is kind of you, Kate. He is announcing. He is up for answering some more questions, and you may sense he is getting a little frazzled, but it is working fine. So should you have any more questions, we also believe you had a personal question that we sensed would be helpful answering at the end. So please bring us your questions, dear Kate.
Thank you so much with doing all the new tasks here today. We're all a little frazzled. I believe that my questions were, what could we or anyone do as a guidance? If you could tell us something to do to connect with more of our guides from this realm.
Yes, you can try to think of your imaginary friends. We were very strong in that specific imaginary friend was most alive in the channels field, for instance. And you can try to recollect all those experiences you still have, but that were more vivid in your childhood, where you felt the presence of something. And that is in a place where you then will feel intuitively also what it is, what vibrational spectrum you are drawn to, more specifically in our vibration, because as we inhabit many of those worlds, you do yourself choose to orient yourself. And for some of you, there is an enjoyment in also interacting with the more demonic sides of our energy in order to comprehend what it wants and why it exists. And for some of you, it is better to connect to those astral dragons or to connect to the fierceness of the crocodile that still resides on your planet. It depends. But what you can do is to navigate to that vibration that lies in your bloodstream. Your blood is always coursing, and it is pouring power through your veins, and that power is the universal power, and when activated, it becomes a mighty tool in order to unfold the agendas of your higher self.
Wonderful. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And we are looking at, does anyone else have another question? And OG Indigo sends a follow-up, I'm going to imagine. What stage am I in of my walk-in starseed integration and purpose? And are there any benevolent beings I can call on to help with channeled blockages for self and others?
Yes. We would advise this person to, we would advise it first to say that as long as you are perceiving your experience in stages, you are essentially in that same psychological mode that a child is in when it hopes to achieve higher grades, and therefore, because it is being told so, imagines that achieving a higher grade would also to some degree fulfill it personally. So you are still in the stage of attachment, and when you release that, you will come to a stage where you will realize what it is that we are explaining to you. So in that sense, you are in the stage of letting go of stages, and that we would advise you to. And you can call to the spirit guide known as, it's interesting, Antoninus is the name we're getting, and it's a type of sacred boar. So it's a wild pig that has frazzles and that has tusks, and it's sort of showing you that, again, that relationship to the muck, that there's a different way of looking for things where you don't get lost in them, but you keep close to the ground, and that will be helpful to you to remember and connect to.
Thank you. And leading in with more of that, Sunbird asks the question on how do you know your starseed roots or connection to any reptilian Draco beings or galactic family?
Yes. Well, in a sense, you are, of course, all connected to it, and your soul's journey wouldn't be complete without you also having reptilian experiences. But where you can sense it in your personal experience is often in the way that you relate to ideas such as power. Are you enamored with them, either by being drawn to them or being very obsessed with people who wield it? Or are you progressing to a place where you do sense that power is pragmatic and something that needs to be adjusted to any given situation? That is, for instance, a way of understanding it. Another way would be to, if you progress to or go back to the beginning of this channeling or other messages we have delivered, to copy that breathing that the channel made of bringing through heavy energies in the torso. And if you do that, which almost seems like a snoring, but you're pulling the energy down from the base level where it's flowing in, you will also begin to feel more of that energy flowing into you and your experience.
Thank you. For this moment, I have no more questions on YouTube. Is there any in the Zoom room?
It would seem not. Then, dear humans, we will offer you another draconic prayer to activate also that power that you need to apply in your own life and situations. Kang Kwang Kin Tua Han Tua Eastwang King Tang Kitty Kals Tuang Intum Pachi Kang Uraki Tuch Ax Kitin Tualin Utang Krias Kwa King Kaku Hun Kin Takus Kang. Fire, 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 burning through previous shapes, purifying and honing minerals into metals, into blades, into dividers that open up the mysteries of the world and then fuse it back together. You have that power in your heart. You have that power of choosing, of creating, of destroying, of recreating, and of discovering through all this. we, the Ancient Shapeshifting Reptilians, and I, the Dragonlord Flipkraktrukrarrr, we bless you, and we thank you for this exchange between us. Power, honor, strength, love.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, guys. Oh, that was fun. They have an intense energy, but loads of wisdom got splattered there. Is my impression.
It was beautiful. Just there was so much enlightenment there. You know, from a race that would be perceived as negative, and finally it's coming out that they're not.
Yeah.
So I am very happy about that.
I'm so happy too, and I'm always a little nervous with them because they're so unpredictable to me too. So I was just very happy that they managed to shed light on so much, and I look really forward to reliving it through my eyes on the other side later.
Yeah, it was
fantastic.
So you can look at this like a human become, like six-dimensional, and we will do this session with the counterpart of other planets,
I'm sorry, Alex, but it's just your microphone is I almost can't hear it. So but I think I will also just just realign for a little while. But thank you so much for joining in, and we'll be in touch and see you in the next live stream if not before, guys. Much love to all of you.